So basically we're going to showing you all the tips on fitting the ZD30 tensioner. Now you can use this tips on obviously the common rail and the direct injected ZD30, so but same procedure for both of them. Now a lot of times a lot of customers call us up and saying that the tension has failed and broken and they can't get the belts on, all this sort of stuff. So today's video is going to be basically showing you how to get the belt on. Now this job is a two-man job. It's a very difficult job to do by yourself. It can be done, but that's where you're going to run into a lot of your problems. So one of the first tips I can say is the nut for the adjuster is a little alloy that's part of the housing. A lot of people strip these because they're not using a single hex socket. So your standard sockets are your multi-hex sockets that everyone sort of has. Now when using one of these on a alloy piece, it's going to come and strip that. So you can see this is a multi-hex socket. It's not what you want to use on this yeah, right there, this alloy thing here. So it will fit, but once you load up a bit of tension, it will strip this nut. So a nice single hex socket, the best socket to use on this sort of thing. Now another tip with this is obviously everyone has the belts lined up and then tries to get the belt over the top of the alternator. Now the alternator has a bit of a ridge on it, so you actually have to get it up over that ridge and back on. So it's not ideal to put it onto the alternator. What you want to do is actually slip the belt over the smooth part of this pulley. So that's why it's a two-man job. Now I've got the bar set up underneath already, so single hex socket, and then someone underneath to hold the tension off the idler while you take the belt off. So another thing I've got here as well is the belt layout. Now I've just printed this out off Google. Another way you could do it is just draw it up yourself, just put everything and make sure that belt goes back on the right way. So we'll get underneath, I'll get someone underneath there and get the tension off and get this belt fitted up and go from there. Now guys, before I fit the new tensioner and stuff like that, so what I do is get the new Matsumo tensioner, put the tensioner arm only, let the bracket be able to move, and all you want to do is just wind it in a couple of times and back out, and just make sure that spring inside there is working. Now I'll let Isaac tell you a little bit more about this.
Tensioners aren't made like your normal shock absorbers, so they're not a fully concealed unit inside of here. The fluid is actually sitting just down inside this chamber here. You got the boot which kind of retains the fluid inside here as well, and you've got a spring that actually is helping that movement up and down. So it's not just the hydraulic fluid with the piston that's making this unit work. It needs a spring as well for it to function. So if you actually take this boot off, all the hydraulic fluid is just going to pour out. You know, that's the same from the genuine ones as well as the Matsumo ones. It's not just the Matsumo ones that are like this. The Matsumo ones we have here are designed exactly like the genuine style units. So yeah, there's no difference between the two in the performance or anything like that. But sometimes when you do receive these, you will have a little bit of fluid leaking out the bottom here. But as long as that boot is secure, you're not going to have any more leaks coming out of it. And as long as it hasn't lost all its fluid, it'll be fine.
Another thing with our Matsumo product is the idler pulley up here is actually about 5 mil larger than the OEM standard genuine Nissan ones. So if you have a genuine Nissan belt on there and everything at this point in time, buying just the Matsumo tensioner by itself, you're actually going to run into problems, because we actually have a kit with the Opti belt. So this Opti belt is actually 5 mil larger than the genuine belt, which will make the ease of fitting it. So if you are running a genuine belt and you're going to want to go to the cheaper option with a Matsumo, tensioner. Highly recommend to get an aftermarket belt, which is 5 mil larger than the genuine belt. Another thing while I've got you, this tensioner, well, where you're mounting this tensioner bracket, always follow manufacturer's specifications on this one. Over tightening this will actually stop the function of the belt tensioner and just give you a lot of belt squeal and a lot of belt noise. So another good tip to have, make sure you follow your manufacturer's specifications when doing any job and fitting all this sort of stuff. There's the bar that we've got facing downwards. So what you want to do is get someone underneath here, and then you want to add tension to it. We'll release the tension off the belt, which is to the passenger side of the vehicle. So while someone's underneath taking the tension off, you want someone up top taking that belt off. Makes life a lot easier for you. As you can see, I did pop that one off the alternator there. So when removing the belt, and especially an old stretch belt like this one, you do have that bit of freedom to get it off that way. But when installing, you're going to have those issues. So I'll get all these old parts off, get the new one mounted up, and we'll fit this new belt. So what I've done here now, guys, is I've taken the shroud off. I'm also going to remove the fan. Now, we'll probably add an extra 15-20 minutes onto doing the job, but that extra 15-20 minutes will make doing the job a lot easier and a lot less stressful for you. So take your time, get the shroud off, get the fan off, and then it'll give you all the access room. The other thing, if you're sort of servicing your car and you're doing a couple other things, like if you're going to do your coolant at the same time, recommend to remove the radiator, get everything out of your way. The more you can move, obviously the easier it's going to make you to get the job done. So I've got the new tensioner. I've already primed up the tensioner arm, so it's just a matter of tightening all these two to the specs and then getting back onto that bar. Make sure you followed the belt direction and we'll get it all going from here. So I've used my diagram, as you can see that one there. It's obviously the belt layout. Always follow this one here. So as you can see, there's no tension on this belt yet. So I've run the belt over the top of the alternator, down along the AC. So it's sitting on every grooved pulley on this system, and it's only this flat surface now that we have to get the belt over. So now it's just a matter of getting that second person underneath while there's that top person up here holding this belt. Slowly, very slowly back that tension off, slip the belt on, and then you should be back in action. Find all these parts available at onlineautoparts.com.au.